Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm doing the last video related to last year, which is my 2016 reading statistics. Now at the start of the year, in January, I did use Brock's amazing spreadsheet. Brock is a fellow booktuber whose channel I will link in the description below. Now he created a spreadsheet which records in great detail all aspects of your reading life. However, when I started using this spreadsheet, despite how brilliant it was, I quickly realised how badly rusty I was with the formulas and indeed creating spreadsheets. 5 or 6 years ago I used to be really good with them, and now, frankly, I was terrible. So I used Brock's spreadsheet as inspiration to create my own. So I'd like to say thank you to Brock for the inspiration. I really needed it because being terrible with spreadsheets, I didn't realise how bad I was, and now I'm a fair bit better, although I've still got some way to go before I can get to Brock's level, because Brock's spreadsheet is frankly fantastic and I would recommend you use it because it is really detailed and brilliant. So first, a quick note on the way I'm going to do this video. As you can see, I've just changed the angle that the camera is pointing. This is so I can display the graphs up here somewhere, and I am not going to be talking about the stats individually, as in the individual numbers, because frankly the graphs are a visual representation and they speak for themselves. I will be saying my opinions and my thoughts, and if the stats are surprising or not, and indeed if I want to try to prove them, that kind of thing, frankly. So the first stat I'm going to talk about is the total number of books read in 2016, and that is 119 books, despite what Goodreads says, and that puts it at about 20 books higher. The reason for this difference is that I am not counting short story magazines or any book that is less than 100 pages in length. This is due with the fact that if a book is 100 pages in length or less, then it's not a full length novel, and I need to draw the line somewhere, and well, frankly the 100 page mark is that line. Now, as you can tell by the graph that is now up, I started off the year fairly light for the first 3 months, and then from April onward it got much better and remained very consistent until we hit December, where it dropped really badly. Now the reason for it dropping so badly in December was, well, other than it being the end of the year and I tend to read slightly less, I also read an awful lot of short story magazines as well. I was a bit behind with short story magazines, actually several months behind on several of them. So I thought, right, December has to be catch up month. So this was a very predictable graph overall. The second stat I'm going to talk about is the total number of pages read. Now that is 48,893. So I'm just shy of 50,000. If I realised I was only just off it by this margin, I would have just tried to read a couple of extra books just to boost it to that 50,000. But oh well. Now, as this graph shows, the range of books was mainly within the 200 to 600 page range, and the average page length for a book was 411. This is very predictable for me. Most of my books are always in that range. On the whole, older science fiction books tend to be on the lower end. More recent sort of epic fantasy and indeed sort of, larger science fiction trilogies tend to be obviously on the higher end, and everything else tends to fall somewhere in between, like thrillers, horror, and that tend to be in the middle. So this is not unusual, and I expect this stat is probably fairly normal. This kind of chart is normal for most booktubers, I would suspect, at least roughly anyway. The third stat I'm going to talk about is genre, and as you can tell by the graph, this is extremely lopsided and extremely predictable. Actually, it kind of made me almost laugh at seeing how heavily biased it is towards science fiction, which, if you've been watching my channel for a while, this will not be a surprise to anybody, because I read an enormous amount of science fiction. Basically every other book I read at least is science fiction, and for the record, this year has already turned out that way. Actually, quite literally, it's science fiction, something else, science fiction, and so on and so on. So this stat will be pretty much exactly the same next year. I am happy though to see a good chunk of fantasy and thriller in there. The next stat I'm going to talk about is the most disappointing stat of this video, and indeed you'll know what it is if you watched my plans for the year video because this is a stat that I want to improve, and that is author gender. Yeah, as you can see by the pie chart, it's terrible. You know, it's a 4-to-1 ratio, you know, male to female. That's awful. Now I know that it will never be entirely 50-50, or at least not anytime soon, but that ratio really is horrifically bad. So I'm determined to make it a little bit more even this year, sort of 3-to-1 preferably. I would like to do it. So, and indeed, it's so far already going that way, but of course, you know, we're only 2 weeks into the year and there's a long way to go yet. Next up is also related to the author, and that is the country of origin. And for this, for simplicity's sake, I am counting it as wherever the author was born. And this is very predictable. As you might have guessed, I read a lot of books from American authors and UK authors. As the graph suggests, that is over 80% of my entire authors, which is frankly remarkably high, obviously. But I am pleased to see there is a noticeable chunk of Irish authors in there, which to me is really nice to see, because my dad is Irish and I have lots of relatives in Ireland. So this is a oddly important stat to me, which I didn't even know that was important until I saw it, and it just made me smile. And I would like to sort of try to keep the Irish sort of authors stat a little bit higher than some, because it's just, I don't know, oddly significant to me, which I never expected. The next stat is actually the most surprising stat of this entire video by a very large margin, and that is the year of publication. Now, as you can see by the graph, most of the books I've read were published since the year 2000, and this is the exact opposite of what I expected. I expected far less recent books and a lot more books generally within the 50s, 60s and 70s. Now this is due to obviously various classic science fiction books I read, which I do read a fair few of, but I realised after a bit of thought that I also read a lot of more recent things, and indeed a lot of the thrillers and these horror books tend to be more recent. Generally the older books tend to be pretty much only science fiction, everything else tends to be more recent. So actually this stat might not be as surprising next year to me, actually pretty much certainly won't be this surprising. But we'll see though. The next stat is book format, and this one made me laugh because, as you can see by the pie chart, this is so badly dominated by paperbacks. Now for reference, I am counting both trade paperbacks and mass market paperbacks as the same thing, because frankly I can never know the difference between them, so therefore I'm just going to bunch them together for simplicity's sake. This is not surprising to me because, as you can tell by my shelves, most of my books, like over 90% of them, are indeed paperback. And indeed, even when I go to the library, a lot of library books, at least the ones I've seem to be paperback as well. But I suspect this stat won't be as quite as extreme this year for reasons I'm not going into yet. I mean, well, frankly, there'll be a little bit more ebooks, I believe. Certain authors are very difficult to get physical books from, but we'll see in the coming year. The penultimate stat of this video is the star rating. Now, this was fairly predictable, other than I gave out far more 2-star ratings than I thought I had. This did surprise me initially, however, but I then remembered that last summer I changed the way I thought about the star rating system on Goodreads and went back and retroactively changed various star ratings. Generally, quite a few 3 stars went down to 2 stars. This basically boosted that up. However, that is unlikely to happen again because I've now know the way I think about the star rating system, and also the fact that it was a real pain to actually change all the stats on my spreadsheet when you're looking at 100+ books and you have to go and check to see whether your star ratings match up between a spreadsheet and a website. I don't want to do that again in a hurry because it's just frankly annoying. And finally, the last stat is the books read per publisher. And this one made me smile because, as you can see from the graph, the primary publisher was Gollancz. this will be of no surprise to anybody who has been watching my channel for a while. Now, the only link to our publisher that I have happens to be Golan, and they send me several books per month. Plus, I have things like the Masterworks, which are the yellow spine ones, and an awful lot of other books all over these shelves by Golans. And indeed, this 30% of books read by Golans roughly matches up with the percent of books that I own by them. I think about a quarter of my book collection is actually Golans as well. So, frankly, this is not surprising at all. So, as you can tell by the fact that I've changed the camera angle back to the usual one, that is it for all the graphs I'm going to be showing in this video, and indeed the end of the stats. If you have any interesting stats, or you just want to tell me how your reading year went, and how many books you read, and that sort of thing, then feel free. We can have an interesting talk. All the links, the like Brock's channel, and indeed the one to the video where he talks and introduces his spreadsheet, will be linked in the description box below, as they always are. All my social media links can be found in the box as well. And that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.